How's everybody doing? Well, I have to apologize for taking absence from doing the videos, but I had a death that I had to do a last rites for, and I had to deal with that, and it's a whole different process when I deal with dying patients or dying clients, and this person I knew for a very long time. So we had to take a respite to handle that, and then I had to decompress because that was a lot. So today we're doing Mars in Taurus, the Mars in Taurus, and I did the man. So now we're gonna do the woman. My little cognac. Okay, let's go right in. Understand that we're still dealing with the energy of Aries. What started in Aries as an explosive energy, boom, boom, like an eruption of a volcano, or an ejaculation, right? Same eruption, right? Right. However, in Taurus, the fiery nature of Aries grounds itself as the energy of Mars approaches Earth. Taurus. So now, this grounding, coalescing energy, what starts out as in Aries, becomes a slow, sensual dance. Sensuality is earth. It's not fire. It's not air. And it is, to a certain degree, water. But the sensuality that you perceive in people like Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, the sensuality is a little bit more in the emotional expression of sex. In Earth, you don't see, or you might see and even feel, emotional expression. But it's very subtle. You see the actual manifestation of that emotion of sensuous energy in the water signs to the physical appearance when Mars reaches Earth. And sensuality becomes a physical manifestation, appealing to the five senses, which rules or belongs to Taurus. Okay, the five senses. So here, sex is funneled through the five senses. The body gotta look good. It gotta stimulate arousal just by looking at the body of a man or a woman. Sense of smell. Her vaginal fluids can be very erotic and it can turn men on crazily. When a woman menstruates, if women take notice, many men hit on them when a woman is menstruating. This is part of the anthropological reminder when we were animals. And when dogs smell each other's asses, like the scent, and then they get horny, like that is also evident in the human being. The armpit hairs, the pubic hairs, the chest hairs, the smell can invite all kinds of passions in both a man and a woman. And then you have touch. Touch, very important when we're dealing with Taurus. It is the sign in which one of the five senses is most developed is the sense of touch. Again, touch is connected to feeling, and feeling is water. You see the connection between earth and water, why they are considered feminine signs and sensuous signs? Because it's all about the manifestation of physical reality as they move through the vehicle of sexuality. And in Aries, or the fire signs, this sexual magnetism and aura is quite evident, even if the fire signs are unaware of this sexual magnetism. No. But when you have it in the earth sign, it's not a sexual magnetism like in earth, like in the fire, but it's more like It's more physical and it's expressive, and it lends towards the imagination. So here, with Mars and Taurus, you have imaginative sex, romantic sex. Not as much though. You will see that with when Venus is in Leo, and we'll talk about that soon enough. But in Taurus, Mars here has an idealism. It has a bar very high when it comes to sex. Like Libra, when Mars is in Libra, the flowers gotta be there, gotta be freshly cut, and the smell of the flowers, freshly cut flowers, perfume, not too strong, because remember the Taurus man or Taurus woman still when they smell your own pheromone, mixed with cologne and perfume of your kind, it can make a man or woman go crazy. Okay, so we don't see this appreciation of human sensuality as much in the man as we do when Mars is in Taurus in a woman's chart. I always put a music that's that goes with the topic, and this music is Tito Rodriguez, very sensual, and it sets the mood for discussing the Taurus woman or the Mars in Taurus as it pertains to a woman's chart. It's absolutely beautiful and sensual, deeply sensual. But there are some specificities that we got to talk about when it comes to Mars in Taurus as it pertains to a woman's chart, because it is different, and it's more academic. So we're gonna take that out of the box first, okay? And then we're gonna go into the more practical, mundane aspect. All right, all right. Let's go. Uh huh. Oh, okay, okay. You have to, sexually speaking, okay? Mars in Taurus reflects a desired nature that seeks to use sexual energy as a vehicle for the metamorphosis of emotional and psychological limitations. Now, that was a big phrase I just threw you. What am I telling you with this? I'm telling you that if you're born with Mars in Taurus and you are a woman, you use sex as a way to break your own hang-ups, to break your own limitations. Women with Mars and Taurus like to push the envelope of emotional and sexual ecstasy and desire. You see, and this makes sense culturally, anthropologically, but also humanely as a person. Okay? Women have been conditioned in our society not to embrace sex and human sexuality the way men do. The women, both in the West and in the East, have been denied this privilege to give themselves their own authority to enjoy sex the way men do. Something as simple as a man, I can be like, wow, look at that woman's body. That fucking ass is banging, and go, ah. And, I may make a woman feel uncomfortable, but men will say, how many women have walked by construction sites and men grab their crotch and whistle, ooh, and a woman has to hold her skirt and run quickly. I mean, women love it. But that's not the point. The point is that there is a direct signal and message in our society that women are not to embrace human sexuality the way men do. Can you imagine a construction site of women, and you do have them, and you see a man walking by, she's like, oh, look at that fucking ass, and did you see that fucking sock in between his legs? I'd like to grab me some of that. I think a man hearing that might get embarrassed or might even blush, because we're not used to having women be openly assertive and confident concerning her attraction for the opposite sex. We're given privilege and allowances, but the woman is not. So it kind of sets the tone early in a woman, a young girl growing up to become a woman, and particularly if she has Mars in Taurus, that she is to curb her desires, control them, or not express them, which is bad for her down the road. Now, all women do this. Women have found ways to supplement that. But here's the other thing. With Mars in Taurus, the woman seeks complete break. She wants a complete break of boundaries sexually. She's the type of woman that if she's never had sex with a woman, she will do it just to know the experience, to see if that broadens her feel bed of experience as a human being, as a sexual being. She might have sex with multiple men, like in pornos, to see what emotional and psychological catharsis that invokes in her. She may watch pornos and experience the limitlessness of sexual abandon by just watching pornos. Again, if Taurus rules the five senses, visual. If she is afraid of throwing herself to that kind of intensity of emotional and psychological experience sexually, and sexual practice or sexual acts do open these doors. Now, there are two speeds going on here. You have the Taurus, Mars and Taurus woman who will have sex just for the sake of sex. No emotional connection or emotional attachment. And then you have the other speed, where a woman with Mars and Taurus will have sex so she can experience emotional and psychological freedom and break away from her own enclosed hang-ups concerning sex. So we can say that the woman with Mars and Taurus is here to experience sexual freedom. And she has to do that by having sex with many different kinds of people. And because we're living in any West or East, women are not allowed to really do this. Unless you are paid legal prostitutes like you do have in other countries. And even then, it's tricky. No? So a woman has to go into imagination. So now sex moves from the vagina to the mind when you're born with a woman with Mars in Taurus. Oh. So, what does that mean? Well, here's another thing, and this could be like a secret taboo, and nobody wants to talk about it. And that is that the woman with Mars in Taurus, she likes to masturbate. She loves to masturbate. She'll have sex with you and then wait until you go to sleep, and she'll go to the other room and she'll play with herself for hours and recapitulate the sexual act with you, but in her own way, at her own pace, and at her own speed. And that way she can process psychologically and emotionally what she had just been through that sexual act with that man. Now, if the sex is terrible, she can easily, over time, lose herself into masturbation and completely disconnect with a partner. That's tricky and risky and can happen. But that can only happen if the sex is not good to begin with. Or if the sex is good, but there's no emotional connection to it. It's just two bodies banging. The Taurus, Mars and Taurus woman will eventually get tired of that. And that too will throw her into autoeroticism and self-stimulation, which is what masturbation does. Excuse me. Oh, God. No, God, no. Oh, God. Okay. Oh, God. Excuse me. Okay. Okay. So, are we clear on that? So, masturbation and she can have 10 times better fun masturbating than having sex with you. Even if the sex is great, she still she's trying to discover every aspect of her being. And sex is another aspect of the human condition that has to be mastered. Just like money is an aspect of human condition that has to be mastered. And love, and so on and so forth. Okay? The Mars, understand what's going on here. When you're dealing with the Mars in Taurus soul, this is the backdrop behind the personality with Mars in Taurus. That's a woman or a man. I've been talking personality and ego. Now I'm gonna do a reversal and go into the soul structure. And the soul structure of these women born with Mars in Taurus are strongly grounded in the body, in manifesting a physical and sexual magnetism. The woman with Mars in Taurus is magnetic. There's something magnetic about her. Something like, usually when they bite into her flesh, she becomes like a juicy meat to eat. You know. Now, when you see a Mars in Taurus woman is like a sun sign Taurus, and everything about her is just her touch. Hi, how are you? How you doing? Her hand just slides off of you. You know, or she just gives you this look, or her hair parts are the right way with the wind, almost like a scene in a soap opera or film. It's just, that's the Venus aspect of Taurus coming through the energy of Mars in Taurus. It's deep, and it's deeply subtle. And if the man is very keen and aware, he will capture the Mars doing a sexual, like the cobra, dance coming out of the barrel. The is Mars. And the slow ascension of the serpent coming out of the barrel and moving like this to the fluid. That's the epitome of Mars in Taurus. Especially as expressed in the human female. It is, you have to cajole her, seduce her, lure her. And it helps if you have a good body to begin with. That's number one, because that's the front line. Again, the eyes. It's all about the five senses. The eyes. You got to smell good. And when she touches you, you got to be solid like a rock. Because she likes a man who's solid. Now you're good. Now, the last thing that you need to know before she finds out if you can fuck is if you got money. Because money and sex go together. Remember, the opposite polarity is Scorpio, which rules sex, money, and death. And they all are intertwined. They're all intertwined. So, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on here. And I just touched this much. Oh, excuse me. There's a lot going on here. A lot. Understand that she wants security. Emotional and psychological security. And money and sex provides these things for her. That is what she needs so she can feel confident, but more importantly, self-reliant, self-sufficient, and secure. If she does not feel that way within her, then we are looking at an afflicted Mars in Taurus. Right? She has to be sure-footed in sex as she is with money and all her other earthly transactions. Okay? This magnetism that the Mars in Taurus woman, and to a certain degree with the man as well, emanates, it's a vibration that will allow you to attract people to you that vibrate at that same energy. Like attracts like, right? The law of universal attraction. Like attracts like. If she is not happy or not satisfied sexually within her own construct, within her own self, like if she doesn't feel beautiful or sexy, or she doesn't feel that she can be a good woman in the bedroom, which is very rare, because a woman, a Taurus woman or a Mars and Taurus woman knows that she can turn a nigga out or a woman out. These are all, this is 100% woman. So there's not going to be any mistake in her abilities to please a man in any respect, in the kitchen or in the bedroom. But here's the thing: if the personality of these women are not where it needs to be, and she's not happy with herself within her own self, then she's going to attract others. And this is true of everything in life and of everybody. This is a law. It's one of the occult mysteries of nature. Like attracts like. So if you're not happy with yourself, you're going to attract people to you that are not happy with themselves. And if you fake the fun like you're happy and everything's good and peachy, you're going to attract someone that's going to equally deceive you in the same way you deceive yourself. Think about that. That's deep, what I just said. You have no choice when you're born with Mars and Taurus. You have to be sexually honest and emotionally honest with yourself. Because if you're not, you're going to attract people who are not going to be emotionally and psychologically honest with themselves. And that can bamboozle you with the same parcel packets of fraud that you are perpetrating within your own self. That's deep. And this is true for the most part of anything in life. We just happen to be talking about human sexuality at this juncture. But this can be applied in any and in every area of one's life. Sex and human sexuality is no different. Another thing about the Mars in Taurus position for both the man and the woman is that there's an animal, raw-like nature to sex, which can be very turn off. It can be a turn off if you're much older. Below age 30, I can see that. It is an age of discovery. Past age 30 is not an age of discovery, but an age of rediscovery and reinventing yourself. And moving away from that is probably the best thing. We don't primitive, and again, some people. These are the two speeds I'm talking about. Now, there are some people that love having raw sex just for the sake of it, just for the sensation, the physical sensation. Understand that the soul is trying to experience physical sensation, and in order to experience that, it needs to be very, very engrossed into the human body. That's why people who are Taurians have exceptional bodies, even if they don't work out, even if they do nothing to build their bodies, they just ooze and gravitate, experience know-how and sexual magnetism. Understand that the soul came here to experience that in both polarities. So there is a time though that emotional connection and psychological renewal will occur through sex, but only if the person is evolved enough to realize that, just like anything, sex also requires evolution. You're not going to have sex with the same person the same way you did 10 years ago. Now, sex evolves. The sex act also evolves. You might fall out of love with someone or lose attraction for them sexually, but still love them. These are couples that have been together 30, 40, 50, 60 years. The sex might have died 20 years earlier or 20 years later. That doesn't mean that they are not in love with each other. Understand that sex, the vehicle of sex, is to bring people together, not to sustain them. What sustains a relationship is what comes after the sex. If you rely on sex to keep the relationship together, it will not work. Because sex is only a vehicle. It's what happens when you're together that requires the hard work. And sex is only part of it. And we're done with part two. Thank you.